So I'm with Nicole Abercrombie, and today we're looking at her store, Teaching Fun with Mrs. A. And these audits are part of a coaching call series that I have on the podcast and here on YouTube. So if you want to watch the full video, you can find a link to that down inside of the description. But this is going to be just a very quick audit through her store. So this is not an in-depth audit. This is not going through every single piece and taking a look at all of the SEO and everything like that. What we're basically doing is we're looking for red flags that's showing up inside of your store, Nicole, that like would make me say, you know what? I would change this before we do any marketing, or before you continue to create new resources in this way, then let's go back and let's fix these things, or here's where you need to focus. Like just kind of looking for big things. Okay. So one of the things that I noticed straight away is that you've obviously done a really great job with your branding. You have big, bold, beautiful colors. Your fonts are gorgeous. Everything looks very visually appealing. Your custom categories are very well organized and they look great.
Thanks.
One thing that I would say about your storefront is here in this section, I would give them some sort of prompt, and I would probably even tell them a little bit about you. So I know that you teach second grade, and these are second grade resources. So what would you say would be your niche within second grade, or your specialty, if you have one, like a specialty?
What I would love is second grade math. I would love to be my niche, because when I taught second grade, especially, guided math was a huge thing for me. But I feel like and I'll ask you this, I don't know if it's too saturated. And I also have second grade writing, because when I was in the classroom, writing was an area we didn't have a ton of things for. We kind of had the standards and some curriculum, but didn't have actual activities. And so my writing activities actually sell really, really well. And so I don't know if more writing should be my niche.
I'm a follow the money kind of person. So if writing is doing really well for you, and your goal is to, ramp up that revenue as quickly as possible, then I would focus on the things that are getting you the most organic traction. And then when you really, like, let's say math is your passion, right? You're like, okay, but I'm really passionate about math. That's great. Like second grade math. As you work on building your audience, building that email list, and building out those marketing platforms, then you have the opportunity to drive your own traffic. But in the very beginning, when you're stocking your store shelves and you're still kind of growing that audience separately, my vote is usually to say, follow the money in terms of like what's giving me the biggest bang for my buck with organic traffic, like what's bringing in the most revenue organically. So I would say continue to focus on those writing resources. So maybe perhaps you say something about that on here. So rather than just saying new products, 50% off for the first 48 hours, you can put that on there, but you can actually create like a rotating banner that's going to say several different things. So the first thing would be to come up with some sort of a tagline for your business, like a very short brand statement about who you are, what you do, and how you're going to serve the teacher. And I know saying who you are, what you do, and how you serve the teacher is really long. So it's actually going to be shorter than that. So like my tagline in my store, if I remember correctly, I'm probably going to like butcher this, but it's something to the effect of, if you can get teenagers to enjoy math, then you can do anything. Well, so I'm targeting people who teach like middle school and high school math, and I want their students to enjoy what they're doing. So I'm creating these engaging resources and things like that. So any kind of statement, like brand statement about who you are, what you do, what kind of products that you have, is going to give them a really good idea of whether or not they're going to want to follow your store. So if I just have something like new products for the 50% off for the first 48 hours, hey, that's great, but I don't really know what to do with that information unless you tell me what to do with that information. So I also don't know whether or not I'm going to want any of your new products. So tell me a little bit about the products you create on one page of the rotating banner, which basically you can do this really, really simply in Canva. If you're not familiar, or if somebody's watching and not familiar, just create like 3 of these size. Like this one will say like your tagline or who you are, what you do. Then the next one would say, be sure to follow my store. And then new products, 50% off for the first 48 hours. And then you just save that and export it as a GIF. And you can use that GIF here. And so it will just kind of rotate through. You can go to easygift.com and you can work with that to like determine like how long it's going to be on each slide. I actually really like easygift.com. If you want to do something that's outside of Canva, then you could just upload, like say you created them in PowerPoint, you could upload them to that. And you could say like, spend this many seconds on this slide and this many seconds on that one before it goes to the, it'll make a gift for you. It's really, really simple. And then link, what I do is you can say like, click here, or you can do an arrow that says click the star or something like that. But if you say click here, you can literally just go grab your follow link from your TPT dashboard and you can pop that here. So that way, if somebody does click on it, it's not taking them to that 404 page.
Oh, cool. Okay. I always wanted to do a rotating banner, but I didn't know how to do it. So that's so helpful.
Yeah. And I've got a video on that I'm happy to send to you after this is over. It's in, yeah. Then this banner right here, this is also another really great opportunity to highlight a particular product line that you have. This is what I like to use that banner for. So if you have a particular product line or series that you think teachers would really be interested in, this is a great place to highlight that. I'll share some templates with you as soon as we get off. But if I go to my store, I'll show you. And this is not by any stretch of the imagination like the world's best example of how to do this. But this right here, you can just like showcase one of your products or some images from your product. And then I chose no prep partner activity packs, and you can click here for this. Or like over here, I did like this little side banner is like specifically for murder mystery. So click here to shop math mysteries or things like that. So just giving them that spot, because this is also a clickable link inside of your store. So I like for it to link to a custom category and highlight a particular product that I have. Another great way to use this section is, let's say that you have a big bundle that is pretty costly, right? And like, for example, you can see I've got highlighted up here my biggest bundles, which are, anywhere from $125 to like $185. Anybody who's just coming to my store and they see these really big price tags, this would be a really great opportunity or a really great place to use this banner to say something like, save time and get all of my activities for every grade level here. And like I could do an arrow down above those resources and like literally point to those featured items. So just trying to make really good use of this space right here. And then same for the little banner that you can put over on this side. And TPT tells you what sizes to use, which I'm sure you know because you've already found them. And so it'll tell you what size to use for this too, but you can link to another custom category or a particular product in your store right here. Your covers are beautiful. So you can see I've got it sorted by most recent, which I like to do when I'm looking for red flags in a store, because I think a lot of times when we sort by bestsellers, you can kind of look through and you get like a mixture of items that you might have created in 2017, right? That may not look as great, although all of yours look wonderful. And then also I get an idea of what your current level is at in terms of like SEO and things like that, like by looking at your most recent product. So when I look at your most recent product, I think the cover is really visually appealing. There are just a couple of things that I'm going to point out. First, on your cover, I would include a value grab. So you've got fun and low prep, which is great, but I would actually use a quantity here, because when we're talking about writing prompts, Thanksgiving activities, like no prep things, that's something that somebody's just going to like want to have print and go, which is what your ideal customer is looking for. We're trying to make that stand out in search and really highlight the value of that product. And I noticed on the second page, well, first on this one, I noticed it says 27 Halloween. So just an FYI, there's a typo there, but that's like, that's so something that I have probably in 50 million places in my store. So like, I get
I'm
that.
glad you said that.
But the 27 is what stuck out to me. So like 27 low prep pages, putting that right here instead of fun and low prep. There's something about a number. Our eyes really are drawn to numbers because it signals value for us in our head, right? Like I'm counting the cost of that pack of sodas. Well, how many sodas are in there, right? And there's a reason why people write the number 12 rather than the word 12 on the packaging, because our eyes are we're searching for that number. And if we can give them a place, excuse that right there, if we can give them a place for their eyes to land and give them that number other than just the price, then that's really going to help them. So that would be the only remarks that I would have or comments that I would have, is make sure that like when possible, and this is the value grab doesn't always have to be about numbers. It doesn't always have to be about quantity or anything like that. But if that's a major selling point for that particular type of activity, then I would certainly include it.
Okay. That's a great idea.
Another thing is that when we're looking at SEO, it's important to remember that the TPT search engine doesn't really need for you to put the same words in twice.
Okay.
So I can do Thanksgiving writing activities and prompts for first, second grade, and then I still have keywords left over.
Okay. So I could
So
use extra words if
you
I
could
take
use
out the
extra
doubles.
words.
Oh, okay.
Absolutely.
That makes sense.
But we don't necessarily want to do like if I have Thanksgiving writing prompts, and I think that that's going to be pretty, important, then I don't want to put the prompt down here because the algorithm is looking and it's assuming that whatever words are most important about your product are going to be put first. So
Okay.
it gives a little bit more priority to those words that are in the very first of the prompt or very first section versus like at the very end of your title. So
Okay.
that is where like I would tend to put maybe like first, second grade, like those are the spots that for those seasonal items, I would tend to put that towards the end because fewer people are using the keywords like this. So generally like less competition. So I kind of put those toward the end. And then the keywords that get more competition, I put them closer to the beginning. And then just making sure that you're putting these down here. So like if I've got the word prompt, then I want to make sure any keyword that I've chosen to put inside of my title, I've chosen it very specifically and very strategically. And so I want to make sure that I'm doing that keyword justice and I'm using it again inside of that snippet so that I'm not overlooking it. So instead of like looking for fun, no prep, Thanksgiving writing activities for your class, these prompts include 27, or these 27 writing prompts include fun pages that will get your students excited about writing, your first and second grade students excited about writing.
Okay.
So putting that in there can help you rank, even just getting a product to rank 1 or 2 higher can, make a really big difference. So just kind of doing everything that you can for that. Another thing that I would say that, TPT talked about this a lot more back during personalized search, but I would probably venture to say that there's still some merit to this with traditional search or with, legacy search or whatever they want to call it, whatever the TPT algorithm is now, is that they had indicators of quality resources. And one of those indicators was that everything was like filled out, right? Things that could be filled out were filled out.
Right.
So things like total page count or whether or not it has an answering key, teaching duration. I think a lot of times with this teaching duration, we're really not sure what to put. So we just like don't put anything.
Yeah,
We're
never
like,
put anything there.
Yeah, you figure that out, right? Like, I don't know. Like, I don't recommend. Yeah. So I would just say, like, go through, give an estimate. And I would say that more often than not, teachers would rather have more material than they need than less material than they need. So err on the shorter side. If you, when in doubt, if you're like, oh, I don't know if this would take 45 minutes or an hour, just go with 45 minutes because they don't want to run out of material, but they're usually okay if the students aren't quite able to finish it during class. Like they're usually okay with that, or more okay with it than running out and not having anything for them to do. Right.
I'm glad that you told me. I've never filled out that because I wasn't sure what that exactly meant. So I'm glad I'll go back and fill those in.
Fill it out. And when you fill it out, instead of just putting 27 pages, you can put anything you want to there. So 27 writing prompts, 27 writing pages, 27 writing activities. You can do whatever. And it'll pop up right here next to the product, next to the price.
Okay.
So it just kind of further establishes that value that your product has right there. Another thing is if you can link a standard to it, and usually that's going to be down here and up here, link a standard to it. That really signals, or excuse me, I have a suspicion that could signal value to TPT, especially if you're putting it in subjects like writing, where they know there should be standards for that subject.
Okay.
If I were building a TPT algorithm, I know that's something that I would include, but I'm, not the algorithm god, so I can't say definitively, but I would assume. And then finally, answer key, it's totally fine to put NA for that because I know it's not always applicable. So just make sure total pages, teaching duration, and if you can link a standard to it, then link that standard to it.
Awesome.
Other than that, I think your covers look good, your previews look good, everything looks very visually appealing. So those are just a few notes and a few things that I would tweak moving forward, and they're actually pretty easy to do. So just really small things, nothing major here, just really small changes. But other than that, your store looks great.
Thank you. I'm excited. I feel like those are going to be small changes that could help a lot. So I'm excited.
Absolutely.